and get your ass kicked by some 75-year-old lady with 3 knee braces. Don't do that. Never eat a raw mushroom.
Welcome to Between the Rallies, a podcast exploring the stories, people, gear, and moments that live just beneath the surface of pickleball. The conversations, connections, and experiences that shape the community behind the game. Because sometimes what happens between the rallies matters more than the score. Welcome back to episode 13 of the Between the Rallies podcast. Today I have a very special guest, somebody I actually looked up to growing up, being an offensive lineman. I always dreamed about blocking for a guy like this. He went to the best high school ever, same one I went to. Played NFL for Denver Broncos, the Cardinals, and now he's found pickleball, joined our sport, and he's doing his part to aid athletes in recovery and energy utilizing mushrooms. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. I want everybody to welcome Jake the Snake Plummer.
Plummer. What's up, Kyle? Matt, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's Capitol High grad, as you mentioned, the best high school out
That's
there.
Right.
Both Eagles, and you were a lineman, so you probably had the gold helmet, Eagle score,
I did.
black stripes going down, and yeah, we got
That's right.
Similar coaches, guys, people we know. So I'm glad to be here, man.
I am still very honored you're on this podcast, but let's get right into this. Cool. Coming from a sports background, there's a lot of NFL players that are actually found pickleball. Larry Fitzgerald, yourself, Drew Brees. Is there something about pickleball that kind of draws these, elite level athletes to our sport?
Yeah, there's a lot that draws these guys to the sport, I believe, when you want to get down to it. As high-level professional athletes playing at the top of the game, and you mentioned a couple guys who had phenomenal Hall of Fame careers, played every down basically, rarely came off the field. A lot of these guys, a lot of the big-name Hall of Famers, hundreds and hundreds of guys that you don't know that also played, and they put their bodies out there. What a great game, what a great time we all had, but as you move further away from the game, your body reminds you of all the hits you took and all the turfs you hit and all the weights you pushed and all the damage you did to your body. Not only your body, but your brain and all that stuff. It's all encapsulated in this skin sack. A lot of guys turn to pickleball because they want to compete. They want to feel that fire. They want to have something that they're passionate about that they can go and get better at. And it's accessible. A lot of guys, I can't do this. And I go show them, come out here, come watch this lady. She's probably 75. She's got 3 knee braces on, she's still doing it. She's in pain too, but she's doing it. And they see that and it's like, oh, I don't really have to move if I don't want to play this game. I mean, you got to move, but you don't have to sprint and explode and dive and roll. I mean, you just basically have to have hand-eye coordination, which, as you know, as an athlete, you played any kind of sport growing up, you have hand-eye coordination. So it's an easy fit for them. For me, it's a great way to get them off the couch. You're going to be sore sitting on your ass. You might as well get out and play pickleball and feel like you did something, meet some people, get out of your hyper-competitive, I'm the best in the world shell, and get your ass kicked by some 75-year-old lady with 3 knee braces. It's humbling, but then you want more. You come back. Like any competitor, we can't take an ass whooping, especially from some lady we could run circles around, and just draws you out of it. It draws you back to a game, to the fun of us playing a game. That's not necessarily a sport, but definitely a fun game.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Honestly, I think everybody has kind of that similar story. You're able to, that competitive spirit. It's super accessible. Honestly, I think for some of us that were athletes, when you go out there and you get beat by somebody that looks like they shouldn't beat you, it almost fires you up even more that you're like, I am going to learn how to play this sport. So how did you find pickleball? I'd love to hear your origin story.
Yeah, that's a funny story. I knew about pickleball because my brother graduated back east at Brown University, my oldest brother. And we went back to his graduation. I remember at the hotel we were at, as kids, we were out running around. We took the elevator or stairs up to the top floor and went out on top of the roof. And there was this short tennis court. We're like, what the hell? How do you play tennis on this? And there were some paddles that had holes. The holes drilled in them, wooden paddles. And some plastic balls with holes in them. And we're like, okay. And we started hitting it around. And I remember seeing the game then. And then years go by. I played a lot of sports, not just football. even during the NFL, I was playing hoops and golf and tennis and handball and mountain biking and all sorts of activities. After I got done playing, the body was catching up to me I train. I don't lift weights necessarily, but I'm active. I'm running around, and there's always something popping up. And so as I was playing a lot of handball and being active, my body, I'd have moments where I'd get hurt or I'd have to work through an injury and I couldn't play. And I was in a moment here where I wasn't moving much. I was kind of sloth-like and not doing a whole lot of activities and just not feeling good. And I remember I'm going to go play some pickleball. So I looked at the rec centers around here, showed up, and there was a bunch of older than me individuals out there running around. So I started playing. And after that first day, I forget, that 75-year-old lady with 3 knee braces kicking my ass, I could hardly move. My whole inner line down the midsection of intricate core muscles and quick twitch, because I'm not going to go there and get hit by a ball. So I played ping pong. I can react, but my body hadn't been doing that, and I could hardly walk the next day. And I'm thinking, man, that lady that whipped my ass, she's going to be out playing today, and I can hardly walk. I better start moving. So I started playing more. That initiated stretching and getting active and moving energy through my body, and I actually got back on the handball court after that. And this was about 6-7 years ago. When I first started playing. And since then, I'm not a crazy play every day guy. I play when I can, and I love to go out and emphasis on the play and go have some fun playing pickleball now and trying to introduce it to other people. Sure, they know that this game is accessible and fun and easy to get into. And once you start, get ready, you're going to want to play all the time.
That's pretty awesome. You bring up handball. It's funny. I used to go to Idaho Athletic Club a lot here locally, and they had big handball and racquetball was huge there. And I remember watching all those guys play handball, and I was like, I couldn't wait to get old enough to play with them. And then I feel like the sport almost disappeared. They were real serious dudes that played. So my dad wouldn't let me play until I was older. By the time I got back ready to play, because I went and joined the Navy and stuff, and when I came back, nobody played handball anymore. So you say you still play a little bit of handball. I didn't know it was still around.
Yeah, it's around. It's always going to be around. It's a niche sport. It's definitely one that if your dad plays, you learn how to play, and it's a game you bounce back to every once in a while. I'm lucky I live here in Colorado, and there's hundreds of players up and down the front range, so it's strong here. Idaho just had a tournament a couple weeks ago in Boise, and I know that there's a group that plays. There's always going to be a group. Some of them are pretty old. Again, they don't move around much, but they get out there, and the fact that you're following a ball with your eyes and you're moving and you're tracking, it's really been proven. Rally sports, especially racket sports, are good for your mental health and your brain. A lot of these guys, once they get in it, they keep going. Me, right now, I'm not playing a lot of handball. It's very demanding on the body, the twisting, and so if I get myself in shape and start working out for that, I have plans to get back out on the court one of these days. But great sport. I mean, my athletic development was at a time when you could play all 3 sports, and you could go off in the summer, and I could go to Coeur d'Alene and run hoops at City Beach, play home run derby with my brothers and tennis and run around. Handball was definitely a sport that was a cross-training sport for me that enhanced all of my physical abilities to move laterally, forward, back, track a ball, hit using my arm, both sides. It's just a phenomenal game, but it's really hard. So it's definitely scares you off right away, or you get stuck and addicted to it for life. And I'm one of those lifers. I love the game. Don't give up on your chances to get in the court, man. If you need some contacts, I got you. I got you ready. I got guys that'll bring gloves and everything you need. They love new meat.
I would say absolutely. Once we're done here, text me. I will definitely go give it a try.
Thank you for your service. I think back in the day, handball was a big part of our military and Navy, and a lot of people played it, and then it kind of phased out.
It phased out.
A lot of the courts became Pilates gyms or weight rooms, and so we love when someone joins because it keeps the numbers up, and then they got to keep at least 1 or 2 handball courts so we can go out and bang a ball around.
I'm very interested in trying. Something you said, this might be a little sidetrack from pickleball, but you talked about we grew up in a time where we were all multi-sport athletes. I know when I was in high school, being a 3-sport athlete was pretty normal, but now I have younger brothers, and watching them, a lot of parents are pushing their kids to more specialize in one sport. How do you feel about that?
I am 100% against that. I don't believe parents are being guided correctly, or that even there's these gurus and even coaches are actually honoring a young individual's development by demanding that they're there and that they play all year long and they're doing. I played every sport all the time whenever I could. It wasn't like basketball was only in the winter. I played hoops whenever I could. I loved playing hoops. You talk about cardio and skills. If you can play hoops, you can play pretty much any other sport. And so I'm against it. I know that in this world of hyper competition and multiple, a lot more kids playing sports, it's hard to play all. But there are leagues out there. There are places and rec centers you can go and play some pickup hoop. The injury thing, everybody, I don't play basketball. My coach doesn't want me to get hurt. Like, yeah, man, we played hoops at ASU at the rec center all off season. And I know our coaches were just like, oh God, but they couldn't stop us. We were going to, and if they told us not to, we would have been pissed off. So I'm all for, playing other sports, and it's proven. Draft, this year's numbers, I don't think they've come out, but I know last year, out of however many they could draft, 278 draft picks, I think 230 of them were multi-sport athletes in high school. Proof is there. Like, yeah, some of them just ran track also. But I didn't just quarterback to become a quarterback. I ping-ponged, I hacky sack, played tennis, I climbed trees, I threw rocks at targets. I was playing all the sports I possibly could because I believe that a well-rounded athlete will excel at the sport of choice so long as they put themselves in those positions to expand on their skill sets, hand-eye and lateral movement, spatial awareness, being able to fall and get back up and run. Yeah, that's all part of all the sports put together.
Yeah, movement's just, movement is medicine. Growing up, I played football. I threw shot put and discus. I was even on the snowboard team at Capitol, so I'm very much like that. And now I have young kids. I have a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl, and I'm very much like any sport they have any interest in, I'm like, do it. I don't want to push them towards obviously, I'd love if he gets big into football, but I'm not going to force him to. Whatever they want to play, I want to just encourage it. So it's awesome. Nice to hear that
we started a camp in Idaho, in Boise, the Plummer Skills and Thrills camp, and everybody comes thinking I'm going to have them pushing sleds and running cones and doing football drills, and there's none of that at all. There's not even a football out there. Maybe there's a football for Bronco ball.
I was going to say, we're going to see some pickleball coming to one of those camps here pretty soon? Or?
We've had pickleball at it.
Okay.
I don't know. I think we're going to do it this year. We don't know. We're moving to Morley Nelson Elementary, so it's a new venue, and we're going to map it out. We have a lot of fun. We let kids know that it's okay to come home from a soccer game and bust out the horseshoes or bust out cornhole or bust a Frisbee out at the park and set up a Frisbee golf course or just get out and play. We've emphasized sports so much, and we see sports on TV, and we see sportsters that are making millions, and now all of a sudden we stopped playing the games. And the games are really what drove me. My brothers played games nonstop, and I wanted to beat them, and I couldn't wait for the day that I could compete with them. And that drove me to want to be better, to work hard, to never give up, to take my beatings. And so this Plummer Skills and Camp, Skills and Thrills, has been a great thing. We have 300 kids. It's free. Sign up. IYSC, the Idaho Youth Sports Commission, runs it. Tim Brady and Melanie Stromboli, my brother Brett. A lot of people come out and support it. And we introduce games to kids that they can go home and say, hey, Dad, you want to play a game with me instead of sitting and watching the playoffs, NBA playoffs? And get outside and play. No one's stopping you from doing that.
That's awesome. It's funny. Small world. I actually know Tim and his wife. So what's the age for that? Where do you actually?
I want to say it's 7 or 8 up to 14.
Okay. I might have to get my son out there.
Yeah. We just opened up registration. We do it. It's outside. We play a bunch of games. There's a little bag you get and some food, and you meet some friends. And it's been a really awesome thing. It was a brainchild of me and my brothers to throw a camp where kids could get introduced to all sorts of stuff, even a station where they just have a bunch of balls and hula hoops and cones, and it's like, make up your own game, create something. Don't rely on AI to tell you how to do everything, right?
It's kind of how pickleball came to be. I mean, it was just a bunch of guys that made up a game.
My favorite games I've ever played was in my driveway on Hill Road, a dirt driveway kind of slanted, and we get one of those bouncy balls at Albertsons, the big crate of the little colored balls that are rubber. We'd go home and play one bounce, which was a rectangle with a line in the middle, and you use both hands, and you just played like half foursquare, basically. And I mean, we played for hours in our driveway, me and my brother, on dirt. And you want to talk about developing some sense of like awareness and competitiveness and hand-eye coordination. The simplest games can bring out the athlete in all of us.
I love it. That's awesome. Before I go into this next section, I do have to ask you, though, because I'm a big gearhead, what is your pickleball paddle of choice these days?
Oh, yeah, good question. I got connected a few years back with the people at Proton, Charles and Brant.
Charles and Brant,
Yeah, they're good people, and they were connected with a friend of mine. And so getting into doing our Plummer Pickleball Bash that just finished the second annual one in Tempe to raise funds for the Good Sport Foundation. And those guys all just publicize, or not publicize, but they go and build courts in places of need, or bring pickleball to underserved communities that need a game to bridge the gap between a racial divide or an age bracket or whatever, and it brings people together. So Proton's been a big support there, and I'm playing with their Project Roadrunner lately, and I love their paddle, man. It's so nice. And everybody, oh, you got to play with this, play with that, play with this. And I play with these guys. They send me a free paddle, and I'm going to play with it till I break it or need a new one. And then there's so many out there. You know, I don't know who's carbon fiber framing in oxygen equipped, puffed up, whatever. Dude, just get the ball back. When I started playing, I was playing with a wooden one that said pickleball across it in yellow writing, bottom on line. And people were laughing at me. I'm going to bust the wooden one back out one of these days and just show people, like, I can still rally with you. With
you can. Yeah, I mean, they proved that. They actually held, I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you watched any pro pickleball, but they had a wooden paddle tournament. It was fun to watch. You know, the play was still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you could do some wacky stuff with these new paddles that are so grippy. You could spin it and smash it. And it's allowing the tennis players to come in now and just start ripping everything as hard as they possibly can. And so I never played so much tennis I got that good. My game is more defense and soft rally continuers. I don't hit a lot of winners. I hit a lot of rally continuers, you know. I like...
You want to stay in the point. Yeah, no, that's...
Yeah,
I understand that.
What paddle you got? What are you playing with?
Oh, man. So I don't know if you know much about me, but I like review paddles too. Like today on my doorstep, I had 7 paddles.
Oh my gosh.
Waiting for me. So I'm always rotating. Currently, my main paddle is from a company called Knox. They are like the number 1 padel company in Europe. They're in pickleball now, and they released a foam paddle that I'm really liking. It looks like a blast. Courts would be tough though. That requires a pretty big court. So what I was getting into though is I was doing some research on you about like after you left the NFL, and there's some, I don't know if you've read about yourself, but there's some funny stuff out there about how you kind of became a hermit and moved to the mountains and you got into mushrooms. I want to know, how did your endeavors into mushrooms, did that start in Idaho? Because I know like I've spent many times, you know, going mushroom hunting, morels and corals. Like, did that actually, anything in your childhood kind of lead to that, or did you find that later?
I found that later, really. I mean, we were always in nature, but we really weren't foraging back in the day for food, you know. I mean, my dad took us up into the Sawtooths when we were little kids. We still go up there, you know. A good introduction to nature came when I was 4 and we moved to Smiley Creek in between Loman and Stanley.
Yep.
I had years of good times out in the woods by myself, catching fish and throwing rocks, you know, pushing trees down and having a good time. You know, my family being a little bit counterculture and a little bit, all my family, you know, I was well aware of, you know, mushrooms at the time. My brother would cook some cremini mushrooms and they stunk when he'd cook them, and I hated it. And I didn't like them back then. And then I had some family that would go in Oregon out around, you know, where the Tillamook dairies are, and they'd harvest the psychedelic, you know. I grew up in kind of a hippie family, so I was aware of mushrooms. I'd never gone and done much with that stuff. A couple times in the mountains, had a little nibble on a little bit, but those are a whole different type of medicine, and definitely more serious, more deep trauma healing and just life reset kind of things. But I got into the functional mushrooms through my work. I met who now is my best friend, Dale Jolly, working at Charlotte's Web and helping be an advocate for the realm of caring that had young kids that were dealing with severe seizure disorders that were taking an extract of the hemp plant, and it was helping put an end or mask or whatever you say, but to stop those seizures from happening. And so I'd always been raised to understand nature. My mom would give us garlic and honey when we had a cold, echinacea and taking vitamin C and brewer's yeast smoothies and all this stuff. We were way ahead of that, but it wasn't something I thought would become a billion-dollar industry. I knew that from a young beginning, nature carried a lot of good in it. And so being able to learn my work with Charlotte's Web about, you know, hemp and marijuana, the differences and how to handle both of those, how to use them as medicine, not just as a party drug. And that got me into meeting Dale, who introduced me to functional mushrooms. And I had really no idea. I'd taken some Chinese herbal like cold snap pills, and I read the ingredients, and there was some mushrooms in those. And so I was like, I knew that there was something there. I just had never been exposed to them. And once I started taking them right before the pandemic hit, and then during the pandemic, I felt a noticeable difference, not only in my immune system and my health, my rest and my sleep, but my inflammation in my body. It was like a whole nother level with the Charlotte's Web and then the mushrooms to clear out the inflammation, continue to be able to move and run around even at now 51. So that's what got me into it. I wouldn't be in either one of those as an advocate or a person to try to talk about it or bring this knowledge back around to us now if it didn't work for me. I'm not selling something that doesn't work for me. So, or talking about something that doesn't work. And there's nothing better too than going into the woods and getting some mushrooms and finding some asparagus and coming home and cooking that up. There's something about that sparks an ancient feeling in my DNA of like, ooh, wow, this is real food.
That's awesome. I was to say, I've actually seen that a lot of people are replacing caffeine with mushroom coffee.
Yeah, I mean, the mushroom coffee, I drink mushroom coffee. That's kind of what got me. I remember before, actually, that's really the first thing I grabbed was some mushroom coffee before Dell brought me those tinctures, liquid extract. The caffeine hits you differently when you have the mushrooms with it. It's an interesting thing. It's not a real sketchy, buzzy high of energy. It's more calm, and my belly didn't hurt. And so that's a real good introduction. A lot of people, that's how they start. From there, you can do the research yourself, FDA approval or not. When someone has a control group and they take a mushroom and they've noticed an enhancement in just energy levels and fatigue going away and your rest getting better, even your sleep tracker tracking, hey, you're getting more REM sleep. Once people hear that and start introducing these into their bodies in a palatable way too. Not everybody loves the taste of mushrooms. A lot of people have eaten the raw ones at a salad bar, and you know what? They got a stomach ache probably from that.
Yeah.
And that's that. Don't do that. You never eat a raw mushroom unless it's been extracted. Like we extract it into a powder form, liquid extract. We put it into a bar. We make it palatable because not all of them taste really, really good. And not all people love mushrooms because they've probably had an experience with them when they opened a slimy can or got some on a burger and they were gross, But if you find some in the woods and cook them up, oh man, or you buy some at the store and you cook it like a steak, oh my goodness, it's some of the best food that carries most of everything we need, aminos and proteins and nutrients. They're very good for us.
Yeah, I would say one of my favorites is like if I'm looking for morels and I find some corals, man, I'll fry those up with just a light batter. It's like chicken. It's like chicken growing out of the ground.
My son found a cauliflower mushroom, which is like dream. He found this huge one in North Idaho, and we cooked that up, and I still haven't tasted anything like that or even close to what I was eating. It was a delicacy. It was so good. And I haven't found one since, but those are gourmet. Gourmet are great to add to your diet. Psychedelics are one you have to research and think about, but they do help with that reset, kind of a reboot the modem and get back to remembering that bees are beautiful and the air feels good to breathe, and a stream can bring you so much joy just watching the water ripple by. And functional ones that we're dealing with are more of a daily type thing. I macrodose 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day of a multitude of different ones that we extract right here in Longmont at my company, Michael Love. So yeah, it's a fun exploration. I'm probably the only former NFL quarterback Pro Bowler that has had a mushroom farm and is now working in the mushroom field. And I do it because there's healing there. And if I can help someone feel better or suffer less through some of the ailments and disease we have here, man, I'm just blessed to have that opportunity, and will continue to be a conduit and a voice for healing with nature.
That's awesome. I'll make sure I put both of your the companies in the show notes for everybody to check out. You were talking about the bars and the taste. Brant actually told me, he's like, man, you got to try Jake's bars. He's like, they're amazing. He's like, I didn't think I'd like it. It's a mushroom bar, but he's like, it's good. So
have you ever gone to a store and just stood at the bar aisle and been like, okay, and then you grab 2 or 3 and like maybe one of them is like, no, that's pretty good. The other 2 are like, God damn, how did you put this on the shelf?
You get
that's why we made our bar, because it's like you tolerate the bar. We don't want you to tolerate our bar. You crave it. And then get all the goodness of the mushrooms that are in it and the all natural ingredients and the fact that it has a short shelf life. It's not good 2 years from now. It won't go bad, but it's definitely the shelf life is shorter. And so we definitely want to provide that, and it's been fun to do it. Being an entrepreneur in consumer packaged goods is a challenge. And like I said, there's 50 different bar companies, and I'm like, how did 40 of you actually decide to go to market with this dog turd
Trash.
you put in a wrapper? Yeah, like, good Lord. And I don't mean to down talk smack on other companies, but for real, you probably, being honest, like, how many of them are good?
Well, I mean, obviously as a lineman, we were always looking for protein. I've tried every protein bar ever made, and I will say since, being in football to now, there's been huge improvements in the taste of protein, because I do remember when I was much younger, like, it was just like eating, like you said, like a dog turd. It was just chalk. It was like half flavored chalk.
Some of them that taste good, you look at the ingredients and you're like,
and it's all sugar.
Wonder.
It's a Snickers bar in a different wrapper.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's been a great, transition or something to continue on. And it's still a challenge, though, when people hear mushrooms. Some people know, like, you've been foraging for morels, you understand this, but other people, their wall goes up and they're just like, nah, man, I don't want to trip out. Don't give me that. I'm like, okay, have a good day.
That's great. All right, so we are at 30 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Seriously, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. I do want to give you a chance to plug any passion projects or anything you got going on, and let the followers know where to follow you, and how they can, if anybody can support your youth programs or whatever, how they could do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I got a lot of things. I keep a pretty free schedule so that I can work when I need to, play some pickleball like I did this morning. Got in some rallies. But you can find me at Snake Plummer on Instagram, on X, Snakes Take. I don't do a whole lot of stuff on there. I mean, we're posting stuff with Umbo, our company, and you can check us out there at getumbo.com, GETUMBO. And we'll have a code for you for your listeners, BTR 20 if you want, BTR 20.
Okay, absolutely.
And you guys, if anybody listening wants to use that code, they can go on getumbo.com and order up some individual items and get a little discount. If you're just thinking about trying it, capsules are really easy. They're an energy one in the morning with some herbs and cordyceps, and then a rest one at night with lion's mane reishi and L-theanine. And that's our best-selling product, our most highly reviewed. Sleep is important. So those are what I got going on, besides Michael Love Farm, where we extract the goods and make sure we're doing it in a highly potent, but also with a lot of integrity behind it to honor the beautiful organism and the beautiful queendom of fungi. So that's what I got going. Other than that, playing pickleball, love to play whenever I can. And having 3 kids keeps me pretty busy. So shuttling them around the front range and that sort of thing is a lot of fun. I also do some speaking engagements when people reach out, so if anyone listening has a company and want to have some motivation type speaking or leadership stuff, I don't publicize that, but I do that once in a while. So yeah, I'm blessed to have been through what I've been through, to grow up in a great space like well, Boise, Idaho, be supported by so many amazing individuals, not only my family, but close friends, coaches, and teammates. So really what I look to do every day is, and it could be a struggle, but is to live each day as best I can, to make sure I'm doing something that brings me joy. And hopefully bring joy to others also.
I love it. Those are some words to live by. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, guys, that is the end of episode 13. Until next time, I will catch you guys between the rallies.
Peace, love, and mushroom.